North Carolina, South Carolina, and with it they have brought their stories. And so one of the stories that they tell is of High John the Conqueror. We don't know if he is real or if he's not, but we believe in High John the Conqueror. And so it starts out, they always say that Martin Luther King and Malcolm X represent 5 generations of slave exhorters. They were the 5th generation of slave exhorters. And from that tradition, High John the Conqueror comes. And he was watching everybody out in the field. And you know, in the field, in the summertime, it gets hot. And the hot is like a blinding heat. It's like a weight. It just brings you down. And the people's spirit had come down as the heat had gone up. They felt so low. They felt like, why am I here? You know, you can feel so low that you feel like life is not even worth living. But they had to go out there anyway and do their job. And High John was watching them as they worked. He said, oh, the spirits are so low, I feel like I might lose some of my people. And I'm going to have to bring them back on the wings of a story. So when the supper bell rang and everybody came in to get the food, they just drugged themselves in toward where the food. And High John said, come on in here. I want y'all to do something. We got to go somewhere today. And they said, John, what you talking about? They just walked, wiped the sweat off their body and got their clothes and clean. They said, what you talking about, John? He said, we're going to go somewhere today. But before we go, you got to pull on your good clothes. I said, John, you know we ain't got no, what are you talking about? He said, settle down and come with me now. You do have some good clothes. And I just want you to go inside and pull those clothes out and put them on. And even Aunt Susie, she searched in her heart and it seemed like the clothes, maroon and purple and rich clothes were on her body. And she straightened up and she said, well, what now, John? And John said, you see that bird over there? And they had noticed that over there was a gigantic, big, black crow. His feathers were beautiful. He said, come on, everybody. Come on, get on this bird. So they all got on the bird, and then the bird started rising up and said, oh, where are we going? He said, come on. First, as the bird's wings started flapping like that, the bird started moving across the ocean. That bird was dead heading itself back to Africa. They got back to Africa. They saw all the people in the field, and the people in the field saw them too. They said, oh, hi! And then they thought, we're not going to see them anymore. woke up, their clothes evaporated. And Aunt Susie, though she was walking by some little barefoot kids that she had to take care of, and she started singing, "You got shoes, I got shoes, all God's children got shoes. But when we get to heaven, gonna put on the shoes and gonna walk all over God's heaven." Heaven. This was right there at the slave master. Everybody talking about heaven, ain't going there. Heaven, heaven, we gonna walk all over God's heaven. So everybody's spirit was up. They were feeling good. But you know, they say hi John is really John Henry. But since he wasn't working for himself, he wasn't going to work when he didn't feel like it. Now people think about these psychics that people talk about today. People talk about psychics a long time ago. And John used to say, you know, I'm from a different place. We got different feelings. I can see things. And he would take the mule and put the mule in a cave. He said, Master, I would love to plow this back 40 for you, but I can't find the mule. And the master said, well, where do you think the mule went, John? You don't have to figure out these things. And John would say, oh, let me look. I do believe the mule's over here. And the master was walking behind John and go in the cave, and sure enough, the mule would be there. Said, oh, Master, I'd love to do this for you, but you know what makes me so tired. I don't think I can work after this, Master. He said, John, for God's sake, go on back to the cabin. I know this work was hard. I know you can't do it. And John would go back and he would be figuring out something, making a Monte game and doing something with his own family. He would be off for that day. Well, you know, this master was so proud of John. He was at a party at the next plantation. He started bragging about John. But you know, a lion can have a life of his own. I don't know if y'all know that. But anyway, so he was bragging and said the kind of thing. My slave is a psychic slave. You know, he called him a nigger. He's a psychic nigger. He can figure out things. And the man said, you know what, that slave is fooling you. He is making a fool out of you. You come up here and I'm going to teach that slave something. They said, bring John up to my house. They brought John up to his house. He said, so you, Mr. Psychic Nigger, I got something for you. You know, I lost my grandmother's ring that she brought over here from England. And if you can find it, well, I'm going to give you this whole bag of money I just made. However, and I think the however is going to occur, if you don't find that ring, I'm going to beat all the skin off your back for fooling us good white folks. And so John said, well, yeah, you know, I talked a good game. He said, there's no problem. Not a problem. I'm going to find this ring for you. He said, okay, just so you can't talk to anybody or look for anything, we're going to make you use your mind. We're going to keep you up in the attic room for 3 days. And at the end of 3 days, if you haven't found this ring, it's going to be me and you, boy. Understand what I'm talking about? So he went up to the room, and John was just thinking about what he was going to do. And anyway, as it turns out, the cooks in the kitchen had stolen the ring. So they didn't know if he was psychic or not. So the first cook was going up at the end of the last day to bring his meal to John. So when he brought the meal to John, John said it was the end of the last day. So when the man left, he said, there goes the first. The first? How did he know I was the first one to think about stealing this ring? He's been falling down. He said, look, y'all, you got to think something quick, because that man up there, he knows who stole it. The cook said, now, don't be no fool. Don't lose your cool. He doesn't know a thing. If you were too shaky to go up there and bring the man his meal and come down and be calm, let somebody else do it. So the next day, the other cook went up there. He walked up there. This man is not going to bother me. He went on up the stairs and gave John his meal, and it was the end of the second day. So John said, And here goes the second. The man said, the second. And he went on downstairs. He said, Cook, I'm telling you, he knows we stole that ring. He said, listen, I'm not going to let y'all get me killed the next meal, I'm going to take it up there myself. So he walked up there, he the cook, he bad, his cool was in place. He could give him the meal and he wouldn't give anything away. And so he got up there and gave John the meal. And John, before he even left the room, said, and there goes the third man. Said, oh, Lord, don't give us up, brother. You know what they'll do to us. He just fell down and Dean John said, well, what was happening? But then, he said, this must have something to do with it. He said, no, I won't give you up. You just tell me, and everything is going to be all fine. The cook said, really? He said, well, we got the ring downstairs. What should we do? He said, John said, I'll tell you what to do. You take that ring. He looked out the window. He said, you see that big, fat, fine goose there? That's the biggest goose we have. I thought it might be. You take that ring, and you stuff that ring down that goose's throat. Stuff the ring down the throat. Do you want to be saved or not? The man said, I'll do what you say. I'll do what you say. They got that ring, they got that goose, and somehow they stuffed that ring down that goose's throat. So the third day, the man said, John, are you man enough to take a whipping? He said, I'll take a whipping if I have to, but maybe I don't have to. He said, okay then, let's see the ring. John said, wait a minute, the ring. You know that goose out there? You see that goose out there, the big one? He said, my prize was a goose. He said, bring it here. Why should I bring the goose here? He said, do you want your ring or not? So he brought the goose there and laid the goose on the kitchen table where they were standing, and John took a cleaver and he ran back. He said, whop! He cut that goose clean in half. Blood was splattered on everybody. This nigga is crazy. But anyway, they looked inside, and inside the goose was his mother's ring. He said, well, I'll be doggone. This man is found the ring. He said, here's your money, John. He said, well, thank you, kind. I hope you trust me more in the future. John went on out, and John was feeling good. He had a little money. He shared with everybody. Everybody was playing Texas. They ate well, and he brought cloth. Everybody was feeling good. They thought that was the end of the story. Unfortunately, it was not the end of the story. That lie kept on walking. It walked all the way to the governor's house. These two men were at a big party at the governor's mansion, and they said, we got to tell you this story. These people are different. Don't you know some of them are psychic? They can see things we can't see. The governor said, what are you talking about? They told the story about John finding the mule and the ring of goose. He said, you know what? This man is the beginning of evil. But I'm going to nip this in the bud. Bring him here. I'm going to think of something he has got to do. And if he does it, I'm going to give him a hog and some more money. But if he doesn't do it, I'm going to hang him to the neck by the neck until he's dead. So they brought John up and they said, John, you fooling your good white master? He said, no, sir, I'm not fooling anybody. He said, I tell you what, you got a week. I'm going to bring you back to this house, and I'm going to have something, and you had better solve it. If you solve it, I'm going to give you this big show hog and a bag full of money. If you don't solve it, you will be hung by the neck till you are dead. Got that, John? Yes, sir. And John went on back. And you know, John had an abiding faith. He said, you know, I had always done what's right. But I'm going to deal with whatever you do. Whatever you do with me, I'm going to be all right. And you know, when he said those words, he meant those words in the bottom of his heart, a calmness came over John. He couldn't even explain it if he had to. And the week was up. He went to the governor's house. And the governor, in the meantime, had been riding all through his land. He had acres and acres of land. And there was this one raccoon that I always wanted to catch. Well, tell us what's in the box, John. So John was giving himself a little stall. He said, in the box. Yes, John. And he looked at the box again and said, in the box. John, what you got to say? He said, wait. In the box. John never called himself anything bad, but when he tried to please these white folks, he said, well, I guess you got the old coon this time. That's right. That hole, they gave him the money, he jumped went on home. He said, you know what, as long as I live, I'll never do this again. You know how sometimes your own folks gonna leave you something? So when he got home, they had filled up a bag full of trash. They said, oh, Mr. Sackett, what's in this bag? He said, get that garbage out of my face. But you know what? People started asking John all kinds of questions. Where's my knife? But he also had stuff about planting. Farmers and people were coming about, how do I plant this seed? How do I grow this hoe? And he was getting famous, and you know, the people were making money off John, but still they didn't like it. John was just too much man for them. They couldn't take it. He was getting too much respect. They'd ask him a question, and they were going to say, thank you, sir, and they were looking up into the face of a black man, and they did not like it. They conspired to sell John down south. And they had a big auction for John. Everybody wanted to be in that auction and see what happened to John. And people bid on John and bid on John. And people bid a lot of money on John, but they didn't sell it to the highest bidder. They sold it to some man that looked greasy and red-rimmed eyes and sad. They knew he lived all the way down the river where the mosquitoes were so bad they could eat up all your flesh while you're working. Down the river where they have you working from sun up to sundown in the most humid heat you could ever live through. And Aunt Suki didn't want to say anything, but she said, I think this is going to be the end of John. I don't think John going to live much more. They set him down there, but she just said, John, everything's going to be all right. And John said, I know, and gave her a hug and got ready for his trip. And he was so down there, and they had him working in knee-high mud. Mosquitoes were just buzzing all around his head. But John just said, this is the day that the Lord has made. I shall rejoice and be glad in it. He wasn't going to let anything bother him. And the old slave owner that he had him smile. They said in 10 years since his wife and daughter died, they said nobody could make him smile. He was just evil and mean, and that's why he broke people. He didn't care if they died and he didn't make any money. He just was driving people. And he knew how John just worked like wasn't nothing wrong. Like this was the best place in the world to work. He knew he was making the circumstances worse and worse for John. So he just wanted to go out there and see, well, what is this with him? Smiling and acting like everything is all right. And so he said, Master, you're a fine-looking man. A good-looking man, Master. The master said, He said, well, Master, can't you say something about me and how I look? Master said, no, I can't say nothing good about you and how you look. I said, Master, you really could. You could if you knew how to tell them bigger lies I just told you. And do you know the master laughed? And he said, how did this guy who's supposed to be so low have the spirit to make me laugh? So he said, you know what, Master, this place ain't good for you. And it ain't good for me. Let's leave here. And do you know the master decided to sell that place and leave? Met an old Quaker girl in Pennsylvania and got married. And they helped work on the Underground Railroad. John was bringing all the people up from Pennsylvania.